Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I want to share with you, first of all, that we're all fine here. As you know, we're being tested weekly, and so far we remain COVID-free. We just want to also say thank you to all of you for all the support that you show towards the staff. It's muchly appreciated. We enjoy the coffee and muffins and whatever it is you send our way, and the chocolate for sure. So thank you for your support. So I'm going to start with the policy, which is, of course, again, revised. So it was revised on the 21st, and then some new directives and new Q&As came out. So this revision that I'm reading to you today is November 30th, today actually. So we'll remind essential caregivers that it's very important for you to review this policy on a monthly basis. Copies of the policy are always at the screening table, so you're welcome to take one. If you want me to, I will certainly email them out. So let's just review the changes. I'm just going to review the changes to the policy. As you all know, we're in orange restrict area, so those restrictions are very similar to what the doctor had sent in his directive. So there are definitions, and sometimes the definitions change a little, so you should take a look at that. I don't need to read all of this to you. So I've just highlighted the things that I think would be of importance. So essential visitors or essential caregivers, however we want to define that. As of November 3rd, as you know, a maximum of one essential visitor could come and visit a resident at a time. The support workers, now that we are in orange restrict, they need to be COVID tested on a weekly basis, and they need to show us proof of a negative COVID test. A support worker would be a doctor, the foot care lady that comes in, anybody that's coming in the building that's not staff. This is a note. Where a support worker requires immediate access. So for example, let's just say we had trouble with our heating and we needed to bring in somebody to look at that. He'd be a support worker, but it would be an immediate, it would be a crisis. So he would have immediate access and wouldn't necessarily have to show us a COVID test. However, he would have to be, or she would have to be full PPE. So caregiver, when the home is in orange restrict, the caregiver must provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test result in the past week and verbally attest to not subsequently testing positive. Now, we've realized there's a bit of an issue with this particular directive in that sometimes people are not getting their results within a week. Some people are waiting 9 days to 2 weeks. So we don't want to be a barrier to you coming in to take care of your family member. So if it so happens that you go for the test and then you're coming in and you haven't got your results, just if you could just show to us that you've gone for the test, we would waive that, let you in, and then ask you to show us the proof once you received it. Another thing that the caregiver, if they're coming in, they must verbally attest to the home staff that in the last 14 days, they have not visited another home in an outbreak or a resident who is self-isolating or symptomatic. If our residents are self-isolating, the caregiver may only visit them in the resident's room, and they must wear full and appropriate PPE. If there are two residents that reside in the same home, they may have the same designated caregiver. but the restrictions would be that they were in the same cohort. So, for example, if both residents are on Care Center 2, then they could have the same caregiver. If one resident was on Care Center 1 and one was on Care Center 2, then they wouldn't be able to have the same caregiver. And we'll talk a little bit about employees. An employee who works at a long-term care home is not allowed to work in another healthcare facility. We already know that. I'll just talk a little bit about palliative care. Not much has really changed in palliative care. If the palliative visitor was a former essential caregiver, they may verbally attest to the home that they have tested negative for COVID within the acceptable time frame. However, palliative visitors may not be allowed to visit the resident if the palliative visitor has not received a COVID test. However, the family has a right to visit the resident okay, I'm a little bit confused here. Sorry, just give me a minute. So the resident has the right to have family and friends present 24 hours per day. BRHD has discretion to determine how many essential visitors may visit a very ill or palliative resident during Orange Restrict. The home will consider the physical infrastructure characteristics of the home, its staffing availability, and the current status of the home with respect to PPE. Palliative visitors are requested to schedule their visits, if possible, with Amy. And you all know how to contact her. In an emergency, the palliative visitor may phone the registered nursing staff to request a nurse to actively screen them upon entry when the requested time to visit is outside of the regular visiting hours. Please understand that it is not always possible to have registered nursing staff to leave their essential duties to perform active screening, particularly on short notice. So with palliative care, if someone is, near end of life, we've allowed 2 people to come in to visit the palliative care resident at once. So each situation is dealt with differently, but we recently had a palliative care resident and we were able to accommodate the family and they were able to spend their time with their loved one. So I think and as you know, there are no general visitors allowed in the home at this time. And so when this policy has been updated and reviewed, we'll talk about visitors and what visitors can and can't do, because at some point in time, we're not going to be Orange Restrict. We may go back to green, and we don't want to have to necessarily redo the whole policy. So we're trying to encapsulate everything into the policy, and then the parts that are applicable to whatever situation we're in at the moment will apply. And visitor testing, effective Monday, November 23rd, with respect to visitors when BRHD is located in a public health unit region, which we are Orange Restrict. BRHD will ensure that support workers and caregivers provide proof of a negative COVID test result in the past week and verbally attest that they have not subsequently tested positive. Proof of a negative COVID-19 test result may be demonstrated by providing BRHD with the result of the test. A printout or a mobile device showing is fine. We're not really interested in collecting a lot of personal health information. BRHD will ensure that the collection of personal health information and any subsequent use of disclosure complies with PIPA. As of November 30th, Subject to exceptions, BRHD must ensure that no caregivers and support workers enter the home unless the requirements outlined in the Minister's Directive, which I've just read to you, have been met. Except that I'm telling you at the same time that you may not have your results right away, because sometimes it seems that people's results go missing or whatever. So prove to us that you've gone for the test. So there in the policy, there's a really nice little chart that was put together by the public health unit, and it shows, the columns are individual, so staff, students, volunteers, caregivers, support workers, and general visitors. So they cover all of the individuals, and then they talk about how often they need to be tested. If they're in the green, yellow, prevent or protect, and that would be every 2 weeks, as we were doing before. When we move to orange, restrict, red, control, or lockdown, it would be tested weekly, provide proof of the negative COVID test, and verbally attest to not subsequently testing positive. And visitors are not permitted. So as you know, as of November 23rd, we have been identified as an orange restrict area. So one note regarding somebody who's previously had a laboratory confirmed COVID-19, and then they're cleared by the local public health unit, they should generally not be retested for surveillance purposes due to the persistent shedding. Prevention, shedding, sorry, I'm losing my place, including previously cleared individuals should continue to follow public health guidance for COVID-19 prevention, including self-isolating after high-risk exposures to cases. So retesting for people who have had COVID would really only occur if they had new onset or symptoms, or if they had been in exposure to a confirmed case. And if this is the case, that you have had COVID and you have been cleared, you need to notify the screener of the situation. Just a reminder, the visitor non-compliance rules still apply. Please, if you're coming in as essential caregiver, you go to the resident's room and you may escort them and be with them in the dining room. But please do not get up and walk around in the dining room or go to other residents, or just once you're in the home, you can't just wander around. You have to stay with your resident, go from the dining room to the room and back and forth. So, and I think that's it in terms of the new policy. It's still long and arduous to read, but those are the important points, I think, at this point in time. I wanted to announce that the LIN, who provides our funding, has provided one-time funding to all long-term care homes for infection prevention and control personnel and training. So we've hired someone, and she's going to be working with management and with the frontline staff on IPAC activities. Part of the funding includes training of staff, developing and implementing IPAC policies, surveillance, and support. So one of the things I've asked her to do is some training with our central caregivers in terms of PPE and infection control procedures. So we look forward to her doing that. Just surveilling, making sure people are following proper PPE. It gets really hard to keep your mask on, especially out on the floor, for the whole shift, and that we have found that people may, try to slip it down for a bit, but it is important that we stay vigilant in our PPE. So I wanted to share that with you, and then I had a few other things to talk about, as we hadn't talked in a while. So Christmas, talking about Christmas gifts. If you're dropping off Christmas gifts for the residents, please ensure that they are wrapped and tagged. Please let us know when you would like the gifts given out. And also please ensure that the gifts arrive by December 21st so that we can quarantine them for enough enough time. And a reminder to families, if you're calling the nurse's phone to talk to the nurse about your family member, please don't call during med pass. And med pass is at meal times. So that's from 8 to 9, 12 to 1, and 5 to 6. The nurse is really busy giving out medications at that time and doesn't have time to answer the phone. Window visits. We've had some issues with window visits in that people are not necessarily booking with Amy and they're just showing up. And then they're asking the nurse if they can use her phone to communicate back and forth. The nurse really does not have the time to do that. The staff don't have time to go get the resident and bring them to the window unless it's been booked. So please take that into consideration. I don't know if I mentioned this last time or not, but the Rotary Club of Barrie is going to be building a shelter for the families. We're going to be doing it at the front window, and hopefully we'll be able to have something that will protect families from the elements so that they can do window visits there. We're also putting in some kind of two-way communication device, hands-free, so that you can talk to your family member through the window. We are going to be asking people not to go to the windows of the residents' rooms or to the windows that you now go to, as snow will be falling soon. We can't keep those areas clear, and there's a risk for you falling, slipping on the snow or on the ice. So this way we'll have an area set up for you where you can come and visit with your family member through the window and be able to chat with them. So I'm still waiting to hear back from the Rotary Club as to what that shelter is going to look like, and hopefully that they'll get on it soon, because I know the weather's getting cold. Yes, I had a family member inquiring about making a donation. They wanted to know who they made the check out to and where they send it to. So if you're making a donation to the home and you would like an income tax receipt, you need to make the check payable to the Bob Rumble Foundation for the Deaf. We can't issue receipts, so what happens often is we have to give the check back and ask for people to rewrite the check. And if you'd like to mail it, it goes to the Bob Rumble Foundation, and the address is 23, and I can send this out if you want me to, 2395 Bayview Avenue, North York, Ontario, M2L 1A2. And just put Attention Foundation on that. So I think I've covered everything that I wanted to talk to you about today. And so if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Oh, what does IPAC mean? It means Infection Prevention and Control. When we drop off Christmas gifts, do you prefer paper or plastic bags? I'm not sure. Amy, does it matter?
No.
I don't think it matters, because we sanitize everything, whether it's paper or plastic, so it's fine either way. So if you're dropping off like a gift that's wrapped, we'll be very careful wiping it down, and that'll be fine. Someone has asked me to send out the foundation information. I will send that in an email. Will donations made to the foundation come back to the Barrie Bob Rumble home? They will. If you put on the check, you have to put in the memo part that you wanted to go to the home. So all of the Bob Rumble organizations, the checks go to the foundation, and you need to designate where you want your check to go.
If you go on the website, there's a window.
Oh, and I've been told that you can also do it on the website, and there's a window there to click off the Bob Rumble home. How are staffing levels at the moment? We're still looking for a number of PSWs. We've increased our pool of resident care assistants, and we've reposted our PSW positions. And we've tried to gloss it up by putting in that part-time people get benefits, that kind of thing. So we've been getting a few more resumes. We have plenty of resident care assistants. We've just hired an RN, which is great news for us. And we also have a part-time RN position, and we have a staff who was previously here who's interested in returning. So we're hoping that she will take that line. So that will make us fully complement with the RNs. And PSWs, it's just a continual trying to get more PSWs on board. But the residents are being well cared for. The resident care aides have been a great support to the PSWs, and been able to allow them to do the things that they need to do. The next question is, can we include chocolates or cookie treats as part of the Christmas gift? Yes, as long as you don't have somebody who is diabetic and shouldn't be eating that kind of stuff, that's fine. Well, a lot of people drop off candy and stuff. Is there someone at the front office every day to get the gifts outside? Yes, Monday to Friday, we have staff working at the front, not on the weekends. We haven't had any issues, but there is somebody there during the week who will move the packages around yeah. I don't see any more questions. I'll just give you another minute if you have any more questions. Shirley, it would be so appreciated that when you send out the foundation information, please include the information how we can ensure our donation goes towards BRHD. I will make sure I do that, because we would like it to come here too. So yes, I will do that. And just thank you to those of you who have already donated. That's greatly appreciated and really helps us a lot in being able to purchase the things we need to keep everybody cohorted and safe. So happy to hear you are all safe and healthy, and thanks again for all you do. Yes, we're so happy too that we're all safe and our residents are happy and safe. And right now, we weren't allowed to put up Christmas trees this year because of infection control. So what we did was we put out on Facebook a request for indoor lights, and Jessica is very busy hanging them all over the place, so that at least it's going to look very festive for the residents in the dining rooms and in the lounge areas. Oh, and I think we need more lights. So if anybody wants to drop off, they have to be new, just because we want to make sure that they're safe. New colored lights or whatever, that would be great. We're just hanging them anywhere we can. So indoor lights are most beautiful. Yeah. They are, for sure. So we want to make sure that, Christmas is still special for all of our residents. There's the hope. What's that? The box thing?
Gifts of hope.
There's the gifts of hope that people are donating to, which all our residents will receive. There's a Mary Kay gift bags galore at the front this morning. And the Evangelical Church of the Deaf in Toronto, every year they donate money to the home, which allows us to go out and buy a Christmas gift for each resident. This year, we will be buying pajamas for each of our residents, hopefully, when we get the money. So. Oh, yes. Should I mention that? Or are you going to put it in that way? So Derek is in the background. You can't see him or hear him, but there is a virtual Christmas celebration on December the 22nd at 7:30. It's, I'm not sure, how do they get on? Do they go to the website?
It will be a link.
There will be a link that Derek will send me that I will send out to all of you, and you'll get to watch some activities that happen here at the home, but also at the other organizations in Toronto, in Milton, and in the camp.
Entertainment, auction.
No, we don't want wreaths because we can't have things that the residents can touch because of infection control, but thank you. I'd like to wish you all, I'm hoping that, I don't think we'll probably have another meeting before Christmas unless something happens, but to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Keep safe. Thank you for your support from all of the staff here and from the residents. Just thank you to the families. You guys are amazing. So supportive. Oh, thank you.